In this video, we're going to continue talking about fundamentals, introducing how to blend and fade colors using the mixed method. This at the end is what we're going to use for our painting, so although we will have many chances also later to get deep in this matter, here, after seeing a bit of theory, we will have 3 examples with 3 different levels of difficulty. We call it mixed because to blend and fade colors with this method, we will actually mix our oil paints, and we will do it right on the support. We already started introducing this method when we were playing with our oil paints, and it wasn't just a case that we started there because at the end, within the 2 methods that we will use in the future, this is probably the most intuitive one. To start, we're going to take some cardboard that we have pre-processed, use some acrylic primer that we're going to use as super to make a couple of tests. We're going to paint a uniform area using some Naples yellow first. Then, beside on the right, we're going to do the same thing using some red vermilion. We're going to leave a small gap between them, we don't want to join them right now. As we did when we have talked about uniform painting, now we're going to work the border between them, but in this case we're going to do it step by step. So we're going to start making a single brush stroke all over the border. We can notice that the 2 color stains get joined almost in every point of the connection path. Let's unload the brush on a piece of paper now, and let's make a second stroke. At first, of course, we can see that the border looks better, but if we get closer, we can start to see some orange line in the middle. And this is very important because also in this case, a single brush stroke makes a certain number of lines all parallel between them and going in the stroke direction. But only this time the color of these lines, it's an actual mix of the 2 colors we are working. Now, if we keep brushing over the border, we can see that the sharp connection between the 2 colors disappear, and now instead we have a transition. And this is how we do the fading with this method. We have to keep brushing in the fading lines direction, exactly like we did in the multi-layer method. But this time, we are not going to work on the thickness, but we are actually mixing the 2 colors. Let's make this exercise again, but now instead of brushing only over the border, we're going to move slowly in the yellow direction. As you can see, this is how we are going to control the fading length. Now, if we want to make our transition smoother, we have to keep brushing. But if we go back right now on the red, we're going to bring with us some yellow, and we don't want this. So before we restart working, we need to unload the brush on a piece of paper until it doesn't release color anymore. Once the brush is clean, we can restart working the fading area. If we are not satisfied, we can redo it again and again until it looks exactly like we want it. Something that we should notice is that before, to do our fading, we have used a flat brush, while now we have used a rounded one. We can actually do this job with any type of brush, although the rounded one is probably what we want to choose. What we did in this case, it's a straight fading because all the fading lines are straight. If we want to make a circular fading, the job is exactly the same, only this time our brushing must follow the fading line's shape. And this means that we have to make circular strokes. And this is also valid for any type of irregular shape, like this one for example. Using this method, we have to remember that the most opaque pigment is going to dominate the less opaque. So, if we mix a transparent pigment with an opaque one, we should expect a limited contribution to the final color from the transparent pigment. In order to avoid surprises until we become familiar with this type of blending and we learn how to control it, we should probably try to mix colors with more or less the same level of opacity to be sure that the final color is what we were expecting. For now, this is all we need to know about this method, and it's time for us to start seeing some practical example. As first exercise, we want to make a circular fading large as the old canvas. To do this, we are going to prepare on our palette some opaque zinc and titanium white, some opaque cobalt blue, and some semi-transparent Prussian blue. Once our palette is ready, we're going to start painting a white circle right in the middle of the canvas. Then, blending some cobalt blue with the white, we're going to paint a light blue ring around it. Now, using the cobalt blue, we're going to make another ring outside the one we just did. We're going to use the Prussian blue on the corners, and to complete the canvas, we're going to paint the last part of the cobalt blue ring that was missing. Now, using a large rounded brush, we're going to start working on the right, the borders, blending the cobalt blue and the Prussian blue. We also start making a coarse transition between them. Then, we're going to pass working on the border between the light blue and the cobalt blue. We're going to start blending them on the right side first, and then we move our brushing on the left, where we are also going to blend the Prussian blue with the cobalt blue. We're going to start now blending the light blue with the white. Also in this case, we're going to start making a first transition between the two colors. If we stop for a moment and we watch the canvas we just painted, it starts to look already like a transition. The only thing is that it isn't really smooth. If we want to make this fading smoother, we have to keep brushing it. At this point, it's very important that while we are stroking, we try to apply a very low pressure. Otherwise, we're going to keep moving our colors from one place to another. And in this case, our target is to mix them, trying to control as much as possible the quantity that we move. The easiest way to do this is by holding the brush close to the end of its shaft, trying to use only the tip of the brush. In a kind of way, it's a similar movement to the one the women do for their makeup. So we're going to keep brushing circularly following the fading lines, moving slowly in the fading direction. The only thing that we have to remember is to clean our brush, unloading it very often. We also have to remember to clean our brush every time we move our stroking from one color to another. To make the center lighter, we're going to blend some white right in the middle. And to get the external of the canvas darker, we're going to use some Prussian blue on the corners. I think at this point we can call this exercise complete. What we did now at the end, it was playing with two colors following more or less freely a circular path. But normally to make representative or figurative paintings, we have to use many colors and we have to paint them respecting specific patterns. This most of the time means following a sketch. This is exactly what we're going to do in this next exercise. We're going to use many colors and we're going to paint them following a sketch. To start, we're going to prepare our palette that we're going to use for this and the next exercise as well. As always, you don't have to use exactly the same colors we are using here, as far as you try to keep a certain variety of colors and opacities. Here, we're going to use some opaque zinc and titanium white, some opaque Naples yellow, some transparent lemon yellow. Now, to make a light green, we're going to mix a good quantity of lemon yellow, a touch of Prussian blue, in this way we should get the green, and we're going to add some white to make the final color lighter. When we make these colors, we can see that the yellow contribution was pretty limited, and what we were expecting to be a light green at the end, it turned into a cyan. It's okay, we're going to use it anyway. The last consideration that we have to do about this color is that since there is a good quantity of an opaque pigment inside of it, the zinc and titanium white, the final color should be pretty opaque as well. We're going to continue preparing our palette with some semi-transparent red vermilion. We're going to prepare some gray mixing some very opaque ivory black and some zinc and titanium white. Then we're going to prepare some opaque crimson red and some semi-transparent Prussian blue. At the end, we're going to prepare some bistro by mixing lemon yellow, red vermilion and Prussian blue. We are also going to prepare another palette with different types of blue that we're going to carry out by mixing different concentration of Prussian blue and zinc and titanium white. Now, on a 30 by 20 centimeter canvas, we're going to prepare the sketch that we need for this exercise. And in particular, we're going to make the same sketch that we have used when we have talked about uniform painting. So, using the brush washer lid, we're going to make the two circles. And then with the ruler, we're going to make the lines. Only this time, we're not going to make the small triangle in the middle. Now that everything is ready, we're going to start painting. And as first, we want to paint a long straight fading between a dark blue and the zinc and titanium white in this area. In this case, since on our palette we have many tones of blue already, we don't have to blend them on the canvas, but we can use those colors instead, painting uniform steps right in the area that we want to fill. Now, slowly we're going to start working the borders between the steps. It's not really easy to do this job following exactly the line of the sketch, so we're going to blend our paints trying as much as possible not overstepping them. But if it happens, it's not a big deal. We're going to clean where we went out later using some ear sticks. Now that we have drawn all the steps and the whole area is complete, we're going to start working the fading lines, trying to make a very smooth transition. To do this job, we have to try, as we did before, to use a brush as clean as possible. Now that our transition is complete and it's pretty smooth, we're going to clean the lines of the sketch where we overstepped them, and we're going to start working on a new area. In this case, we're going to paint uniformly this circle using some red vermilion. Using some lemon yellow, we're going to fill the top part of the area outside the circle. But only this time we don't want to have a very sharp border between the two colors, but we'll start to make a sort of short transition. So in order to make our fading lines, we're going to start brushing over the borders as we did before. But actually, we can notice that every time we try to mix the yellow with the red, the yellow almost disappears. And instead to get the transition that we want, our circle in this area just becomes larger. This is because the lemon yellow it's a very transparent pigment, and between the two colors the red is the dominant. Let's fill now, using some Naples yellow, the remaining part of the area that is empty. And let's try to make between the two colors the short transition that we want to do. We can see immediately that this time is actually much easier to fade these two colors. And this because this is an opaque pigment. So using some Naples yellow, we're going to correct the circle shape as much as we can, trying to clean a little bit the yellow. And using this pigment, we're going to try to adjust the fading all over the circle, brushing in the fading lines direction. Now the circle looks much better, so we're going to move on and we're going to start painting on a new area. But for now, we're going to stop here and we're going to continue this exercise in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, we will really appreciate if you could click on like and subscribe to our channel. It will also help us very much if you could leave a comment. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one.